Hello everyone, it's Farkit here, and in this video I'm going to cover Update 7 for Sons of the Forest. Apologies for this video being late. Reasons. Now I'm going to list it mostly based on what they've written it in the patch notes. Now the first change is that they've added drivable golf carts to the game. Now these pretty much operate like a Night V. They go around the same speed and they maneuver very similar, though there are a few main differences. One, you can't carry the golf cart with you, obviously, because it's too big. The second one is that it's very front heavy. So if you go over the top of something, it's going to tilt forward very fast. You can run things over with it like cannibals and animals, which is actually not a bad way of hunting. It's very effective, actually. I don't know how realistic that is. It's got a solar panel on the top, but I'm not sure if that actually works. I think it's still reliant on batteries. So as it gets flat, you're going to have to charge it. If you drive it into water, you'll be kicked off it straight away and you have to push it out. Kind of like how the forest was with boats, you can push them around. It does go up fairly vertical height, like I was able to use a ramp with it. And yeah. It doesn't go up the little lips on buildings too well, and it can even damage them, so you'll have to repair them. So I think the golf cart can cause a lot of damage to things, including your own things. I ran Kelvin over with it, and the thing flipped out, went bizarre and all that sort of stuff. It's an interesting addition, but I don't think it adds much to the game. It seems quite gimmicky to me. Got a little place on the back where you can't store items on it. It's a positive change, I guess. God, I need to be more positive. And the next one, they've added the rifle to the game. Now this is another weapon that you can get, and it uses its own ammo, rifle ammo, which will now spawn in the world. So every time you open up a container, you'll find some. So on hard survival, you're going to find a lot less because those containers don't respawn unless you go into caves. Fun. Now each shot does 50 damage. For reference, I think the pistol does 12.5 damage. So 4 pistol shots equals 1 rifle shot. They're obviously 2 different weapons. They have different uses. If you shoot a cannibal in the chest or the head, they will die instantly. However, if you shoot them in those spots and they have armor on, you'll break the armor first. So the trick is you want to shoot them where they're unarmored, because even if you shoot them in the leg, they've got 100 health. It will knock them down to about 12 health, so it'll knock them down on the ground, so you can still finish them off. But there's no point in wasting a bullet on a piece of armor. Fingers don't appear to have head damage, like headshot damage, but twins do. I noticed that if you shoot it in the body, it does 50. If you shoot it in the head, it does 100. Fingers have 160 health and twins have 200 health. So if you shoot a twins in the head twice with the rifle, you will kill it. Otherwise 4. It automatically comes with a scope. You don't have to add a scope to it. And I haven't checked if any of the other weapon add-ons can be added to it. I'm doubting, because I'm pretty sure most weapon add-ons are actually sort of made for each weapon in real life. And I'm assuming they're adapting it after real life. And it's a bolt-action rifle, I think. I don't know if it's center fire or rim fire. I know a little bit about guns, but not enough to actually comment on what those 2 different things mean. Now, for how to get the rifle, you got to go to this cave here on the map. It's on the east side. It's on the west side. It's on the east side. East side, yeah. It's actually quite tricky to find it. So once you get in the cave, you go through, you pass that golden pitcher, you'll pass about 5 cannibals, you'll find the water area, which you got to swim through, and then you'll come out the end. And as soon as you come out, you should notice a soldier or a mercenary with a grenade in his hand. Once you're here, you're kind of on the right track. Once you've seen him and grab the grenade, keep walking, you'll run past a fingers standing in water, and just stick to the right side of this cave section. Just hug the right wall, and eventually you'll wrap around and there'll be a section where there's like 3 or 4 babies, and when you've reached here, this is where the rifle is. Make sure you kill the babies first, and then you pick up the rifle and it's done. And you'll have some ammo next to them. Is it good? Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure yet. I think you got to use strategy with it. Like I said, with the armor, if you can take advantage of their weak points with the scope, you're definitely going to get a lot out of it. I didn't test it on the bigger mutants, the big cannibal dudes, or the red ones. I have no idea how it works on it. I'd probably kill them in one shot, I'm guessing, if you hit them in the head. In the next one, they've updated the environment on the east side of the map with more streams, waterfalls, lakes, ponds, cannibal villages, rope bridges, and more. Rope bridges? I don't even see any rope bridges. But here's the footage of it. And also, while I'm covering this, because this is just scenery stuff, I'm going to talk about the next edition, which is they've added dedicated servers to the game. I haven't looked into this yet. I've had a pretty busy week. I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, the instructions for this one are a lot better, and it seems to be better thought out, or more well thought out, whichever English is more better for that statement. There's a lot more options. The explanations are better. They even provide troubleshooting in it. It's better than the forest one was. A lot of people were disappointed that this wasn't released when the game was released, because they did say that the game was going to have full multiplayer support, which didn't turn out to be quite true, but here it is. Guess we can't complain now it's here. Same thing as the last game and any other game. You got to do port forwarding on your router or modem, and yeah, make sure you put a password on it, because otherwise people will join and cheat and ruin your game. Yeah, keep that in mind. I don't sound very positive, do I? Damn. And the next addition is that they've added stone doorways, stone struts, stone windows, and the stone pillar detached placement, whatever that means, and window shutters for both the stone window and the wood windows. And they're pretty cool. There's no animation for them opening and closing. It's all instant. I think it might stop enemies from being able to see inside, because I think they can see you inside your base, and they might start targeting the walls or something. I don't know. I think it does let light in. I'm not sure how light actually works in the game yet though. When you're knocking stone windows and doors out, it works just the same as logs. I think it was a smart idea to do it this way, because it would have made a lot less bugs and it would have been a lot easier for them to do, and it makes a lot more sense for the player. And when you knock them out, they're just the stone section that you can reuse. So you can reuse those stones you're knocking out. As I mentioned, they work exactly the same as the wooden ones. They've also added stone building tutorials to the book. On the other side, it's pretty straightforward stuff. As I said, it works exactly the same as the wood, so if you know how to do the wood stuff, you'll know how to do this stuff. The next change is that they've doubled the strength of stone structures. Now, I didn't really know what this meant. I thought they were quite weak, but they start off at 600 health, but as soon as you hit it, the health goes up to 4,800. And I think this is because it's connected to 3 other pieces that went up so high. But if this is the case, there is pretty much no reason to build with wood, because these structures are going to be, oh God, that's going to be massively stronger than wood. How many times does 6 go into 48? A lot. If you want it to last, you're going to have to build with stone. Only problem with building with stone is that it's even more tedious than building with wood and logs. If you get yourself around that, you're going to have a strong base. I don't know if I recommend using them as walls, because cannibals can just climb over the top of them. They don't have anything in the game yet to stop cannibals from doing that. I'm wondering if you could actually place spikes on the top. That'll be interesting to see. Just so they go to climb it and they get spiked. That'll be funny. Yeah. Anyway, the next one. They've added a new stone holder structure to the game, and it's just as you could picture it. You put stones in it, and it's literally just sticks that mark out the border of where the stones would go. So in reality, you wouldn't need this, but I guess for game implementation purposes, if I pronounce that right, it makes sense. Can't just store stones anywhere. Well, I guess you kind of can. I don't know. It works. It doesn't clear the grass, though, from what I can tell, which I thought was quite annoying, because it makes it quite difficult to see. Those sticks don't come up very high. Also, as a bonus point, this is a spicy place to build. You should give it a go. The next change is that stones can now apply damage to things when thrown. I didn't check structures. I checked animals. Don't bother chasing them. It's stupid. It doesn't work very well. You have to hit a deer with about 12 stones for it to kill it, so it'll take you way too long. Maybe against enemies, it might be good. Just remember to aim at their head. Next one is Kelvin can now finish building stone fireplaces. Now, this is a decent one because they hold a lot of stones. If you cancel them, all the stones drop on the ground. So I don't know if it's a good idea to use them as storage now that we've got a stone storage. But yeah, I guess it's a positive change nonetheless, because Kelvin can pull stones out of thin air if there are none on the ground. The player cannot do this. I've sped up the footage of this one and got hit in the back, so I couldn't actually watch him finishing it. The next addition is that you can now attach stones or any length of log to ziplines rather than just full logs. I didn't realize that you could only attach full logs. I guess it made sense at the time. But yeah, quarters, halves and 3/4 can now go on there, as well as the stones. I guess it's useful, and they also go back up, which is not really good for realism, I think. Hurts the immersion a little bit, but this is a problem the forest had. It made building up on higher elevations to be quite crap. I think they're making the game a little bit more friendly. The next change is that they've added a dirty and clean water system. So now if you drink water out of ponds or rivers or lakes without anything, or just filling up your bottle or pot with that water and drinking it, you'll take a small amount of damage, and I don't believe it fills you up too well. The damage isn't that high, and I did test it on hard survival as well. Also, the new springs that they've added, which I'll get to, water will damage you still as well. Now, for how to boil or get clean water, it's pretty easy, I think. It wasn't to figure out to begin with. Obviously, you can just build a water rain collector with a turtle shell. That will work fairly effectively, I think. It took me a while to figure out that boiling water is actually a recipe. So if you place a pot on top of a fire, it's not going to boil. It'll sit there for ages looking like it's boiling, but it won't become clean water. It'll still stay dirty water. To boil water, you need to actually click the recipe. It's just called clean water, and it takes about a minute to boil and become clean. And then if you drink that, each sip does 25% water, I think. So you can now fill up yourself completely with one pot of water. And that is in hard survival too. So maybe they've increased the amount of hydration that clean water gives. Instead of being like, was it 5 or 10%, it now gives like 25%. But still, dirty water's not going to hydrate you very well. There's no infection or sickness in this game yet, so you don't have to worry about that if you're drinking dirty water. And also, you can fill up your water bottle with it, but I think it only takes a quarter away from it, and you can fill yourself up half. And so this is probably a better way to drink the water. There's no proper animation for it when you fill it up. It just looks like you're sticking your hand in the water and drinking out of it. Sounds like you should get the flask ASAP. The next change is that you can now add pots to the wall shelf. I don't actually have the footage of that here. I just did it on a normal shelf, but it makes it look like you've got a kitchen. And each pot remembers what recipe is in it. So if you're building on a spot that has a pot on it that respawns like that spot I mentioned earlier, this might be an ideal way of doing things, because then you could just keep food on the shelves if you can organize it well enough, because it doesn't show you if there's anything in the pot until you pick it up. It will say like pot dirty water or just cooking pot if it's empty, or the recipe name, etc. They've improved the look of burning stick materials and the looks of boiling water. I just showed a little bit of footage here to give you an example of what that actually looks like. Fun. As another bonus I thought I'd include because I was curious at the time. I did a fire test, which fire was best. The normal fire, the fire with the rocks around it, or the fire in the fireplace. And it works probably exactly what you'd think it would work like. So a normal fire without the stones lasts the least. The one with the rocks around it lasts twice as long. And then there's the fireplace, which lasted a lot longer, probably even twice as long as the rock one. I didn't even check how long it lasted. We just kept going. I got bored and left. So it's a lot. The next addition is that they've added head trophy mounts, and you can now put animal trophies on your walls and stuff. So each of these heads are actually stored in your inventory now. So in the forest, you used to have to carry them. Now you can carry them in your inventory. I guess it makes more sense. It's a little bit more convenient for the player, but carrying a full moose head around is a little bit immersion breaking. There's no shark head in this one, or killer whale head. Maybe they might add it later on. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a good callback to the forest. And it works just like the forest. I think you just put the head on it. The only heads that look decent from what I can tell is the moose and deer head. Every other head looks too small, but I think the forest had this problem as well. And no crocodile heads yet. The next change is that they've added decorative frogs to the game, and frogs sit on lily pads and chirp. I think this is something they wanted to add to the forest originally, but I don't think they could ever figure it out. So they're probably pretty excited to add this one. They look like toads or American bullfrogs, I'm not sure. But they remind me too much of cane toads, which we get in Queensland and Australia, which are nasty things. And you can kill them if you want. You can't eat them or get anything from them. The next change is a held relocated structure is now thrown if the player opens their inventory, which means if you open your inventory, it's going to throw it on the ground to destroy it. You have to rebuild it. Yeah, that might be a bit annoying, but good to know. The next change is disassembling a custom effigy now takes the item you were targeting rather than the last item added. This is absolutely brilliant for hard survival if you're a player that likes to eat the locals, because you will be making Greg recipes a lot in hard survival because the amount of food you need is insane. So this is very useful for hard survival and in general. The next change is that they've added some hot springs to the mountain area. I think I mentioned that earlier with the water thing. It's still classed as dirty water, but it's like volcanic steam hot water that you get in a thermal area. I don't know what the hell they call it. They've got them in New Zealand and wherever you got volcanoes. So basically icy areas where there's hot water. The benefit of it is that if you stand near it, it actually heats you up. So you don't get cold while standing near it. I did a test with the console commands. As you can see, the temperature does change. So these areas are definitely worth building near. Now here's the rest of the changes with the exception of the new boss added to the game. I'm saving it right to the end so you've got a spoiler warning beforehand so you know to quit the video before I get to that point. There's a lot of fixes in this. There's heaps of them. And a lot of them that you can't even work out what they are because of the way they've worded, because of mostly the building changes, which are complex to figure out themselves. And here's a 10-second warning and a cat food change to the game. They've changed the texture for it. It's so useless in hard survival, I believe. This stuff's not even worth eating because they nerfed it too much. But oh well. Here's the new boss stuff. So as soon as you finish the game, you are in the cube and you say, in Virginia or whatever happens, cuts to this scene. Now the mutated woman or man or whatever it was does spawn here. And this is a cutscene, so I'm gonna let it play without me speaking. So that's the cutscene, and then you gotta kill him. and it has 1500 hit points. The demon boss had 2000. It's probably just as dangerous. This thing can spawn a lot of enemies though. The demon boss can't. This is the mutant boss. Other one's called the demon boss. And this one picks up a helicopter and swings it at you, like super casually too. So this enemy or boss fight can be made trivial if you have 10 grenades in your inventory, which you can carry 10. It takes 9 to kill it. So as soon as it spawns, if you switch to grenades and just lob grenades at it constantly, eventually you'll kill it within about 10 seconds. And because it's spawning enemies, the grenades will kill those enemies that are coming out. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend fighting it any other way though, to be honest. But once you kill it, a new cutscene happens, which is very similar. Eric comes back, but Eric wasn't on the other helicopter. Animations for the new boss scene are a little bit jank for the cinematic. It's a little bit excessive, but, you know, each to their own, I guess. Just so you know, within this scene, that enemies can show up real fast, and they did that for me. So Timmy and Eric were just standing there watching me getting wailed on by cannibals. I was trying to get them to jump into the helicopter rotor blades so they can chop themselves up, but they wouldn't do that. And when I picked up my bag with the enemies there, this glitch happened where they were just frozen in time. And I watched the helicopter fly away and waited for them, and they still hadn't spawned back. As soon as I hit one, they all came back alive again to a normal state. Now this enemy can spawn mutant babies and twins. I haven't checked what else it can spawn. Things could get pretty out of control, I think, if you let this one get away. I don't know if it's the case of the forest where the end boss actually becomes a spawnable boss on top of the world. Not sure. I don't know if you'll see this. I think the demon boss does spawn above ground now too, and then this one might. I got no idea. But yeah, lots of grenades. Or can go the route of using the deadfall trap with the stick and the log, because that does 1000 damage each hit. I spawned it in first, test if I could kill it with that, and the first one actually just ran away and ran off into the forest. I don't know where it went. It didn't come back in a hurry. So I spawned in another one near the traps, and it walked into them and got itself killed. So technically, if you want an easy boss fight, you could set up that area with a lot of things, but I probably don't recommend it because the landscape and that changes with it breaking out of the ground, and that it might be just too messy. Just maybe don't do it. I don't know. Can be done though. Anyway, that's it. This update was classed as a pretty big update by them, but I don't know how big it actually was. It didn't feel that big. Just felt a lot of new things that were just recoats of paint of other things, but that's just me being pessimistic, as usual with this game. Yeah. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Cheers.